Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
Morning about a 5-year-old boy sitting on the steps of an office building. They believe that his grandparents were washed away by these waters and they were looking for his mother and his brother. Just truly heart-wrenching and difficult times for the people who've been hit so hard by Hurricane Katrina, as we keep all of them in our thoughts and we watch this incredible process as the military heads in to try to rescue as many people who are still in danger as they can. And that is it for me in this hour of Fox News Live. I'm Martha McCallum. Studio B with Shepard, live from New Orleans, starts now.
This is New Orleans under a state of emergency. Mayor Ray Nagel of the city of New Orleans calls it a disaster that is impossible for people who live here to comprehend, a disaster which people outside the city of New Orleans and southeast Louisiana cannot yet even know about. Authorities have now looked and they've reported on local radar and the unvarnished truth of what they found on Studio B right now.
Live from New Orleans, this is Studio B with Shepard Smith.
The city of New Orleans is in a state of emergency beyond anything that local officials say they can even describe. New Orleans is not a functioning city anymore, and according to authorities, it will not be for months. According to Mayor Ray Nagel of New Orleans, speaking on local radio, which is the only way for them to broadcast at this time, the city has no power, no water, no stores, no restaurants, no food, no sanitary services, and no prospects for any of those things for weeks or months to come. The city of New Orleans is shut down. They are frantically trying to evacuate the city of New Orleans before, according to 3 different local officials, a mayor and 2 parish presidents plus 1 police chief, before they can no longer sustain life inside the city of New Orleans. It's a concept that's very large and very difficult to comprehend. And if you're not here, I'm sure it's impossible. But for authorities here, it has just become clear to them. Some quotes from the mayor of the city of New Orleans. Water is now waist deep around the Superdome. Water is building in many parts of the city. This city is a bathtub. The water didn't come in fully during the hurricane, but it's coming in now. The central business district is now flooded. Floodwaters are now making their way into the French Quarter. It's a slow process. According to the city of New Orleans mayor, they're working now to stop the water from coming in. He believes that's a process that will take at least days, figuring out where it's all coming in. Stopping it will take more days, says the mayor. And then getting the water out, according to the mayor, at best estimate, the best case scenario would be a couple of weeks. There is no power to all of southeastern Louisiana. 750,000 customers without power. In many cases across 5 different areas, according to multiple local officials, including the president of the parish and the mayor of the city. The cities of Gretna, the 9th Ward in New Orleans, Plaquemines County, St. Bernard County, or parish I should say, and New Orleans East still have hundreds of people on rooftops, people who have been in there on those rooftops since Hurricane Katrina came through, and now they wait for someone to rescue them. As a result, the police chief has said now that he wants all people who have a flat-bottom boat to take the flat-bottom boat, this is from Sheriff Henry Lee, take them immediately to the corner of Earhart and Airline Boulevard to the Sam's Club, where they'll continue to stage the largest search and rescue operation that's ever been known, according to local officials, in the United States in modern time. New Orleans is a city that right now is not functioning. Some more facts on what's happening. In the city of Kenner, they have nursing homes with no oxygen and no water. In the city of Kenner, they're now trying to figure out how to get people to refugee centers with no one to take them. They do have boats out and say they're able to accomplish rescues. It just is going to take time. A refugee center has now been set up in the city of Gonzales, where they believe at the Lamar Dixon Conference Center, where they're telling people if you have nothing else, go there. We're now told that tens of thousands of people, according to local emergency management officials, will need long-term housing. To quote the mayor and the chief of the energy company here, They will not even be able to put the high lines up, the large power lines that bring power to a region, for 1 month. And then it will take a minimum of another month to restore power. There will be no school in the city of New Orleans for at least 2 months, according to the mayor of New Orleans, Ray Nagin. He says, quoting, "That is a very conservative estimate. School in 2 months would be a miracle." The same is true across the entirety of southeastern Louisiana. It is a disaster which the outside world has not yet seen or heard about. But right now, authorities are up in helicopters, waiting to come back and report exactly what they've seen and how bad southeastern Louisiana really is. This is quoting the mayor of the city of New Orleans, who's just been out on a boat, who says there are still bodies floating in the water everywhere. Tens of thousands of people will need homes. We have no way to know how many people have died in southeast Louisiana. From St. Bernard's and Plaquemines Parish, the southern tip of Plaquemines Parish is gone. It has been, quote, reclaimed by the Mississippi River. The levees have been taken. Southern Plaquemines County is missing. Phil Keating is the one who's been in the city most recently. Phil, it's hard to understand what all of this means, and authorities are saying they can't even figure out really how to begin to tell people where they're going to go next.
Right, and when we were discussing this in the streets, Bourbon Street and Conti this morning, we were in the French Quarter, and the ground was dry, and then about 5 hours later, the intersection of Bourbon Street and Canal Street, about 9 inches underwater, and our photographers who have recently been down there now are reporting that Canal Street, which is probably the most second famous street in the city of New Orleans, that borders the French Quarter with the Central Business District, completely underwater now, and those waters are rising. The question is, how far will they continue to rise? And that has certainly sent a level of panic amongst the residents who stayed in the city of New Orleans and did not evacuate before Hurricane Katrina came here, because now those residents don't necessarily have a way out, because they don't necessarily have a means of transportation, and also getting out is a major problem. The twin highway bridges leading northeast out of town towards Slidell and then on to Mississippi. Massive structural damage has closed that section of interstate, and I-10 to the west of New Orleans is submerged underwater. And so there are limited routes available for those who can get out. And for those who did evacuate, well, the Louisiana Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness telling everyone, remember, if you did evacuate, you cannot go home yet. And as Shepard was just mentioning, now we know why. Most likely, there's nothing to go back to. And if you get there, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, I want to talk to you about the looting, the mayor of New Orleans. And again, the only place that local officials can broadcast to people here is on the radio.
Yeah.
There's now only one radio station. It's WWL, the big 870 they call it here. That radio station is now broadcasting at every point on the dial. Unprecedented anywhere that we know of. And they're talking about the looting. The mayor and the police chief are saying they have nowhere to put the looters. So they're asking the military to come in and take the looters out. What did you see?
Well, we actually saw more than one case of looting, 2 different places, a Winn-Dixie and another store. There were New Orleans police officers around, but as you're mentioning, where are we going to take these people? It's almost, there's so enormous of a problem. Looting, what are we going to do with you now? And so people are taking advantage of the situation. They're running around with huge section of the produce department, huge sections of bread racks, stock and bags full of anything they can get off the shelves. This was not out of necessity to feed their family. In a lot of the cases, they're taking whatever they could get because it was free. Now, the major confusion going on, as you mentioned about the radio station, that's the only form for city leaders and parish leaders and the state to communicate. A lot of these people don't have radio, They don't have power, they don't have TV, they don't have a landline phone line. And so there's this massive confusion of how dangerous is it? How much time do we have to get out?
And the problem is they have no way to continue to sustain themselves. Normally, on the second day of a hurricane, this must be 15 or 20 for me, you hear chainsaws and you see the Red Cross. That does not exist in that city. We were just there. It's not there. So what they have is a city where people are running out of food and water. They're working to get all of this in there. Don't be mistaken. They're working to get it in there. The problem is it's so much larger than anything they could have ever envisioned. You know, authorities have been planning for this worst case scenario, and yet the mayor of New Orleans and the president of Jefferson Parish said live on the radio today, this is so much bigger than all of our fears that we don't even know how to tell you yet how big it is. And I know that this is probably a stunning thing for many people who have been news focuses on pictures. The truth is there are no pictures to tell the vast majority of this story. That's a city that no longer functions. And according to the leaders of this city, who yesterday thought they might be able to clean things up quickly, those leaders have gone out and assessed this morning. They've come to the radio to explain, we were wrong. This city cannot function. It will not have power widespread for at least a couple of months. No one will go to school for a couple of months. So to what do we compare this? Maybe South Dade and Hurricane Andrew? 3 different local officials I've heard say this makes that seem like a small disaster. Think of what you did at schools. Just one example in South Dade. If it was time to go to school, you could move them up the coast to another school district and go half a day on, half a day off. So the local school would go in the morning. The school from South Dade would go to school there in the afternoon. You can't do that here. An entire school system is shut down. There's no commerce in the city of New Orleans. There's no tourism in the city of New Orleans, which is its only major industry. No one has a way to make money. No one has a place to buy things if they happen to have money. The only answer now, according to local officials, is for everyone in New Orleans and southeast Louisiana to leave so that the National Guard and officials can come in to try to begin to pick up the pieces. But they can't do that until they get the water out. And getting the water out, they say, will take, at a conservative estimate, 2 weeks. That's the reality in the city of New Orleans today, and we'll be bringing you specifics of that story throughout the hour. In addition, unthinkable disaster on the southern coast of the state of Mississippi. This hurricane swiped from New Orleans all the way across. Dozens and dozens are dead. Homes for more than 100 miles are wiped out. A disaster like nothing we've ever covered, and according to local officials, a disaster like nothing in our lifetimes. We'll have continuing coverage on Fox News Channel in 2 minutes.
Introducing the 2006 Chevy Impala. With an available 303 horsepower small block V8, it's a whole new animal.
Be smart.
Be independent.
Be powerful.
Be frugal.
Be strong.
Be opportunistic.
Be unafraid.
Be patient.
Be unemotional.
Be ruthless.
Be confident.
Be first.
Be ready.
Focus. Be sure.
In other words, be extraordinary. With a totally customizable platform and new low pricing for stock and options trading, Power E-Trade Pro is dramatically upgraded. At E-Trade Financial, we keep challenging the ordinary to help investors be extraordinary.
We look out for each other. We do it without thinking, without reward. It's what we do. And that's why there's more help coming from Medicare. New prescription drug coverage. With it, everyone who is eligible for Medicare can be covered for the prescriptions they need to stay healthy. But all of us should learn more about it because choices must be made. And we can help each other because that's what we do.
Introducing the 2006 Chevy Impala. You'll be amazed at what it can do. It's a whole new animal.
This storm is big.
The first reporters on the scene as Katrina cut through the coast was Shepard Smith, the first anchor reporting from the path of this sinister storm. As recovery begins, turn to Fox News Channel first for continuing coverage of Hurricane Katrina. Exclusive interviews, expert analysis, explosive debate. It's all tonight on Hannity and Combs. Then, surviving Katrina, rescue and relief teams mobilize and deploy to devastated destinations. It's a special 2-hour edition of On the Record.
And the rescue efforts continue across New Orleans and southeast Louisiana. Hundreds of people, according to the mayor of Louisiana and Jefferson Parish, are still 30 hours after the storm on their roofs waiting to be rescued. They're mounting what local officials believe to be the largest search and rescue operation in America in recent times, trying to save lives on top of buildings. And they'll wait until later, according to local officials on the radio today, to try to assess how many people may have died in this storm. So serious this is that a number of local television stations have shut down their operations and told their employees to leave. Our local Fox station did that today. No businesses are functioning in all the city. And this city, surrounded by water, it makes it impossible in many cases for people to get in and out, to bring in the sort of rescue efforts that are necessary. That's already beginning in Biloxi, Mississippi, where our correspondent Rick Leventhal is standing by live right now. Rick.
Well, Shepard, I can tell you your home state has been hit very hard by this hurricane, and Biloxi, in some cases, has been flattened. The scenes here are staggering along the Gulf Coast. We're just off of Highway 90 here, and this was a neighborhood of townhomes and two-story condominiums that is now completely reduced to rubble. Much of it has washed behind us here in large piles of debris, wood and cars even. And Tommy, can you see that that burgundy car over there under the tree? You can see that large oak tree also toppled. Walk this way with me. This, by the way, Shepard, is a hurricane tie-down. They use it to strap the wall frame to the floorboards, and this is just one of the many pieces of debris that we're seeing out here, but it's big pieces of debris, like sections of brick wall that are now littering the ground, cinder blocks. There's porcelain toilets over there, large air conditioning units, big pieces of trees, logs, that sort of thing. You can see that white car there is buried under boards, and beyond that there's a red car that one of the people in the neighborhood told me was over on a beachfront home. This building right here, this three-story building, as you can see, has been pretty seriously damaged. There was one right next to it, an identical twin to this building, that is completely gone. Again, we're in Biloxi. We're seeing this stuff for the first time. There are crews here. Watch the wires here on the ground. There are crews here that are still going through homes and looking for possible victims. We'd heard rumors that they had recovered a number of bodies from this very area, but we haven't been able to confirm that. I did just learn that they found a gas leak at one of these houses over here, which is obviously a dangerous situation. I talked to the family that owns this house right here. Obviously, this house has been totaled. The guy who lives there has lived there a long time. His mom lives just down the beach. Her house is completely flattened, and that house survived Hurricane Camille. So again, Shep, the damages here are staggering. They're still trying to tally the losses. Casino Road down the beach, serious damages, and we're going to get down there and show you pictures of that shortly.
Rick, I'm out of time, but very quickly, our relief organizations, the Red Cross, are they able to get in there and on a 90-degree day give people food and water and the necessities of life?
Yeah, there are some relief stations. We saw some Red Cross, but the highways in many cases are impassable, and it's very difficult for vehicles to get through. So they're encouraging people to stay off the roads if they can and allow the emergency workers to get in.
There are Rick Leventhal live in Biloxi. Rick, thanks. There are no such relief stations in the center of New Orleans today. First, they have to get the water out, and they've not been able to accomplish that. Very difficult situation in Mobile, Alabama, as well, east on the coast. Our correspondent, Jonathan Seri, is there now. Jonathan.
Hi, Shepard. Take a look behind me. This is the Mobile River, and that large structure you see is a flotel or a floating hotel. This type of structure is used with oil drilling rigs out in the Gulf of Mexico. What they would do was take a structure like this out to the oil drilling platform, connect it to the platform, and then this is where the workers would sleep and eat. It's built to hold 450 people. Now, there's a boat just on the right side of the flotel. You see the men on the boat. They're inspecting it for damage. It was dry docked on a barge across the river at a shipyard where it was undergoing routine maintenance. And then when Katrina came, the winds were so strong and the storm surge so strong that this whole structure that weighs more than 12,000 tons was carried not down the river but upstream against the current and then slammed into this bridge known as the Cochrane Africatown Bridge here in Mobile. It is the bridge that carries U.S. Highway 98 over the Mobile River, and it is closed to traffic. Ordinarily, this is the route that trucks carrying hazardous materials would take to go through the city of Mobile, because of course they're not allowed to go through the Wallace Tunnel, but now that's closed, and so the trucks are having to take a much larger route involving Interstate 65 and Highway 59. But right now, the structure here, see how small those men are on that little boat inspecting it. it compared to the structure as a whole. I'm told from the water up to the top of the crane you see on the right, it's 260 feet. Officials tell me it's going to take at least 3 days for them to remove this flotel from the bridge. Shep, back to you.
Jonathan, very quickly, same question. Are they able to get water and food into people left behind?
As far as residents in Mobile are concerned, yes, but they suffered considerably less damage than their neighbors in Mississippi and Louisiana. So it's not a problem getting the bare essentials in, but there are other things that are hard to get. Gasoline is hard to get, and ice is hard to get in many places.
Jonathan, thank you. We drove out of this city 4 hours ago thinking we were evacuating. No gas for an hour and a half, no food, no water for an hour and a half, and the only way out of New Orleans. And there's none to be had inside the city. When we come back, we'll talk about the potential for a disastrous situation with health. As the water stands, the mosquitoes breed, there's sewage, and there are human remains in that water. How will they recover from this? The experts are next on a special edition of Studio B, live from a state of emergency in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Fox News. This is what we do.
Are you tired of wearing food in your lap? Does that old-fashioned TV tray have you painfully hunched over? When you need to get closer, there's TableMate. TableMate makes whatever you're doing more comfortable. Its ingenious design allows you to sit back, relax, and slide the table right up to your body. You'll love getting close to TableMate. Whether it's eating, reading, or writing, TableMate will serve your family well. Ouch, cross-leg trays force you to the edge, but TableMate slides to you for more comfort. It easily adjusts to 6 different heights and 3 comfortable angles. It's like having 18 tables in one. TableMate's extra-large surface transforms from a kid's art easel to a yummy snack server in a snap. Converts from a convenient card table to the most comfortable laptop workstation you'll ever find. And when you're done, it folds flat for storage or stacks for easy access. TableMate is extremely lightweight, yet strong enough to hold up to 50 pounds and still slides with the touch of a finger. Amazing! Use TableMate to tailgate, poolside, on the boat or RV. It's the most portable table you'll ever use. You could spend over $250 on different tables to do what just one TableMate can, but you won't pay that. Call now and get the incredible TableMate for only $29.95. But it gets better. For our special TV customers, we'll also include this remote control organizer, a $20 value free. It's ideal for keeping all your remotes in one safe place. It conveniently fits over any armrest and even stores your TV books and snacks. Yours free. TableMate comes with a lifetime replacement guarantee. If it ever breaks, buckles, or bends, we'll replace it free for life. You get the TableMate remote organizer and the lifetime guarantee, an $80 value, all for just $29.95. And when you call, ask how to get a TableMate free. Call now.
Call 1-800-841-1514 to order your TableMate for $29.95 and find out how you can get another TableMate free. This incredible offer won't last. Call 1-800-841-1514.
No matter what you're into, there's only one way to go back to school. Get hooked up with Dell. This Dimension desktop with an Intel Celeron processor is yours for the amazing price of $299 after mail-in rebate. Plus, get a free printer. Notebooks start at $499 after mail-in rebate. And get up to $400 off select Dell systems. Get hooked up with Dell and get more out of now. Dell PCs use Intel Celeron processors.
We're so sure you'll love the DR Field and Brush Mower. We'll send you one to try out on your property for 6 months risk-free. If you don't agree that the DR is the easiest handling, hardest working field mower you've ever used, we'll take it back and we'll even pay for shipping both ways. Try out a DR Field and Brush Mower for 6 months risk-free. Call 1-800-356-8383 for further details or visit us online at drfieldbrush.com.
Pictures now from New Orleans, Louisiana, a city that is trying to figure out now how it will recover from a disaster of unthinkable proportions. The first priority is to stop the water from flowing into the city because it is not running off. There is a concrete levee near 17th Street, according to the mayor, which has been breached for 3 blocks. The Army Corps of Engineers and the National Guard are now working to drop 3,000-pound bags of sand on that levee to stop that place from bringing water into the city. Authorities are very upfront to say they're not sure where else water may be coming in. They're not sure how long it will take to stop that water from coming in. They're not sure when they'll be able to have the pumps up, which are necessary to remove water from the city. It's the only way water gets out. They're not sure how long it'll take to get those pumps up and running, but once they do, it'll take up to 2 weeks to get the water out. That means standing water with sewage in it, according to authorities, and human remains and all the rest. What possibilities does that bring? Dr. Stephen Garner of St. Vincent's Catholic Medical Centers in New York, who worked with 9/11 group following the disaster in New York, is with us now. Dr. Garner, what are the possibilities here?
We've got a floating cesspool developing. We're going to start getting infection spreading among the people as they walk through the water, as they come in contact with the water. And it's just the perfect conditions for mosquitoes to start breeding, and probably in about 4 or 5 days we're going to start seeing a tremendous increase in the mosquitoes. We've got
There's already a tremendous increase, Dr. Garner. This is one of the mosquito capitals of the country, and that's one of the things that local officials are talking about, how people are already coming in sick. And in a city with no food and no water and no place to go to the bathroom, they also have no place to take these people who are sick.
And the hospitals are becoming flooded right now. The patients they cannot care for, the emergency generators are only going to last so long, and you have ventilated patients who are trying to be transported, but keep in mind these are the most sick patients, and a lot of them won't even make the trip. They won't even be able to make it. We saw 3 elderly people being transported a couple of days ago out of New Orleans who died because of the stress, and definitely we're going to see an increased number of heart attacks and lung problems due to the stress.
As we speak, authorities are trying to get 500 desperately ill people at different hospitals out of the city so that they can get them water and oxygen. But Dr. Garner, let's talk about the people who live inside the city and this large homeless population, which to now at least it's been we are ones who've witnessed them continuing to wander the city. I guess all of those things can befall those people. What do they need to keep from that eventuality?
Well, they need to keep good hygiene, and that's kind of difficult when you're out in the field. So somehow they're going to...
Dr. Garner, that's impossible.
Right. They're going to have to somehow try and get them these alcohol wipes to wipe their hands. They're going to have to try and avoid touching their fingers to their mouth. But these bacteria and parasites can work its way in through open cuts. And due to all the glass, the debris, they're probably going to get open cuts. And this may be a situation where we cannot prevent this impending doom that looks like it's coming.
Let's talk about, Dr. Garner, is this a situation, from what you know of it, where you see, I don't know, the possibility of quarantine coming down the road? Or how do you see this unfolding, medically speaking?
In order to spread the infection from as many people as possible contracting it, they're going to have to quarantine people who are very sick. Probably the biggest problem we're going to have is gastroenteritis, which is going to be vomiting and diarrhea. And it's very contagious. So it's going to be necessary to isolate the people who are most sick. The other problem is animals are going to start appearing. You're going to start seeing dead animals as well as...
They already are appearing.
You got snakes, you got alligators, and even stray dogs and cats who are so disoriented from this event that they can start attacking people.
All right, Dr. Garner. Dr. Stephen Garner live for us in New York. Dr. Garner, thank you. To my left now, an oil tanker actually bringing in gasoline, something they so desperately need here. Actually, what's being brought in now? They're bringing in oil for generators. Think of this. There's no way for even emergency managers to communicate with each other because the cell towers for cell phones are down. Their backup generators, which were with them, are out. The battery powers are gone, and there's no cell service anywhere. There's no way to communicate with anyone. There's no way for people who are injured to call anyone, and quite frankly, there's no one to call. It's not a situation which will remain that way, but it is the situation today. Priority one is getting rid of the water, and in areas where people are flooded, to get boats to people who've been on the roofs of homes for more than a day. We'll have your bottom of the hour headlines next, and then, though it seems almost, I don't know, unimportant, but the economic impact of all of this is going to be absolutely enormous. The mayor of New Orleans said tens of billions of dollars just to get started, that he can't even think of a way to quantify what it's going to cost. because the problem is so much bigger than you can even imagine, much less envision. More on the economic impact and the oil wells out in the Gulf, and much more from a city that's under a state of emergency. And the water is rising in New Orleans on Studio Bay.
Oh, Jenny, your program is way more fun than when I did it years ago. Your food is way more yummy. I have endless, boundless energy.
Look, Kirsty's lost 45 pounds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Final week. Get 6 weeks for $36 plus the cost of food. Or ask about our other affordable plans. Call 1-800-JENNY-20.
You go, girl.
Have you called Jenny yet? Call her. It's fun.
Vanilla first left Mexico in the early 1500s on ships headed for Spain. However, it wasn't until 1519 that the Spaniards learned vanilla was more than just a perfume. Mexico continued their vanilla.
If the history of vanilla doesn't put you to sleep, maybe this will. New Tylenol PM and Soothing Vanilla Liquid relieves pain, isn't habit-forming, and leaves you refreshed in the morning.
Call now for the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express and start earning double miles at supermarkets, gas stations, and lots of other places. Fly free twice as fast on Delta or 20 other airlines. Apply now and get 10,000 Sky Miles with your first purchase. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES. Call now for the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card. For every eligible dollar you spend, you can earn 2 Sky Miles for even faster travel awards to nearly 500 destinations. Plus, earn 10,000 bonus miles, and the card is fee-free the first year. Try getting all that from another card. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES.
It's one of the world's largest planes.
Mommy, did you make that plane?
Yeah, it's got 2 stories.
And on its maiden voyage,
When you wake up, we'll be in New York. Can't find my daughter.
someone will vanish
Does anybody remember seeing the girl?
No, sir. You know she's on this plane.
Why didn't anybody see her?
into thin air.
We don't have any record of your daughter ever having been on board.
What? We're gonna find my daughter.
Jodie Foster.
We're doing it!
Flight Plan. Rated PG-13.
The president says Katrina's destruction is the top priority. Hello, everybody. I'm Jane Skinner. President Bush is cutting his vacation 2 days short to monitor Hurricane Katrina recovery efforts. He referred to the devastating storm during his speech today. It was marking the 60th anniversary of the end of World War II. He was at a naval air station in California. Mr. Bush drew parallels between the U.S. victory over Japan and the war in Iraq. He expressed appreciation for the sacrifices of American troops in both wars. Well, some pretty good news on the economic front. Consumer confidence numbers have been coming in stronger than expected, jumping 2 points from July to August. Those numbers are closely watched because consumer spending accounts for 2/3 of the activity. There have been concerns that rising energy prices might put a damper on consumer optimism. Analysts point to an improving job market for the latest boost. General Motors is recalling more than 800,000 SUVs and trucks in 14 northern states. That recall involves the 1999 through 2002 Chevy Avalanche, Silverado, Tahoe, and GMC Sierra, Yukon, and Yukon XL. Salt and corrosion and road grime, they're all affecting the anti-lock brake system, and that led to more than 200 low-speed crashes.